My husband and his affair partner were killed in a car accident, leaving behind their 2 kids. Now everyone expects me to step in and raise them like they're my own, as if that's what a good mom should do. I'm 45. My husband was 49. We'd been married for 23 years. Back in 2020, he started an affair with a 20-year-old. I only found out this year when his affair partner gave birth to twin boys in March. At that point, divorce was the only option. We'd been working through it for months. It was complicated. Shared properties, joint accounts, lawyers, accountants, especially since he was using our money to fund his affair. We were finally close to wrapping things up when both my husband and his affair partner died in a car crash. The twins survived without a scratch, but that left them orphaned. Neither side of the family could take them. My in-laws are in assisted living. He had no siblings, and his only aunt flat out refused. On the other side, I don't know every detail, but her parents also couldn't commit, and her only sister lives overseas. Since my husband and I were still legally married and he never updated his will, all of his assets are set to pass to me and our 2 daughters. I'm not heartless. I wouldn't leave those babies with nothing. My plan was to give whoever became their legal guardian the $25,000 left in our shared account. But the bigger issue? No one wants to take them. Now my in-laws are pushing me to do it, but I don't want to. I know myself. I wouldn't love them like my own kids. I'd always feel bitterness. I'd become that resentful, evil stepmother type. I truly loved my husband. I thought we were happy until I learned the truth. And I already have 2 daughters, 14 and 16, who I'm raising alone. I don't have the energy to start all over with babies. My girls hate their baby half-brothers. They've hated everything about this situation since it came out. Most of my friends say it isn't my responsibility, but my in-laws, the affair partner's parents, and even my mom think I should take them. My mom, I think, is just blinded by grandbaby fever, but it still hurts not to have her support. I had to make a decision by next week or the twins would go into foster care. They were staying temporarily with their maternal grandparents, but deep down, I knew I couldn't take them in. Would I be wrong if I refused? Editor's note: I couldn't find the exact time frame between updates 1 through 6. It might have spanned several months. This post blew up way more than I expected. Thank you to everyone who sent well wishes for me, my daughters, and even the twins. Thank you, too, to those who offered to help give the twins a loving home. I may not be their mother, but seeing kindness out there really does mean something. After thinking long and hard, talking to my lawyer, and reading your responses, I decided tomorrow I'm meeting with the grandparents to officially refuse legal guardianship of the twins. I'll also share the usernames of people who reached out about adoption or fostering. But my daughters are my priority. From there, it'll be up to the grandparents, adoption, fostering, or letting the state step in. I wish I had the mental and emotional capacity, but I don't. I already have 2 teenage girls who are hurting, who lost their father, and who need therapy. They're heading toward college soon. They need me whole and focused on them. I also talked with my lawyer about inheritance. The twins may or may not have a claim. If they do, I'll make sure it's handled properly. If not, I'll still honor my promise to set aside $25,000 for them. But I won't go beyond what's required. I can't help everyone. Yesterday, I went to meet with the grandparents. I explained my decision. I refused guardianship. My mother-in-law almost slapped me on the spot, but since we were in public, my father-in-law stopped her. The maternal grandparents begged me to reconsider because they didn't want to lose the boys. When they called me selfish, I snapped. I told them the selfish ones were their son and daughter, my husband, for cheating and dragging out a painful divorce, and their daughter for knowingly pursuing a married man twice her age. I told them if they contacted me again, I'd request a cease and desist. I also cut my in-laws off from seeing my daughters. Why? Because my girls confessed something shocking. Apparently, my in-laws had been telling them they'd have to leave their private school for public school, get jobs right after high school, and start sharing a room, because the twins would need the space and the money. That would never happen. My girls didn't tell me earlier because they didn't want to upset me. But finding out? Absolutely not. That ends now. I told my daughters that their grandparents have no say in their schooling, college, or living arrangements. Their tuition is covered. I only ask that they consider part-time jobs or scholarships when they're in college. I also reminded them not to blame the babies. Their half-brothers aren't at fault. My daughters said they understood, but they don't want anything to do with them right now. The fact that they said for now gives me hope. In the meantime, we're making changes. My husband's old office is being turned into a gaming room. I'm also taking down his photos and putting them into albums for the girls. We need the house to feel more like ours. For anyone asking why my daughters don't want to see their dad's grave, it's because they were the ones who discovered the affair. He asked them to keep it a secret after introducing them to the twins at the hospital. They came straight to me instead. After that, he turned on them too. He burned every bridge with them. I met with my lawyer Monday. Here's what I found out. The twins have no inheritance claim without DNA testing. Even if proven, their only claim would be against my in-laws. The shared account belongs to me, not my husband. Same with the lake house. His personal savings and life insurance went straight to his parents. That's the only thing the twins could claim. My lawyer even warned me. Don't give the boys money voluntarily. If I do, it could be seen as taking responsibility for them and could force me into guardianship. So instead, I'm splitting the shared account for my daughter's tuition. Still undecided about the lake house, but none of us are attached. Some updates, CPS removed the twins from their maternal grandparents. They're now in foster care. Honestly, I'm relieved. The bad news? Someone submitted my name to CPS as interested in adopting them. I immediately cleared that up and got removed from the system. And this morning, I got served. My in-laws are suing for grandparents' rights in custody. They're claiming they'll leave assisted living and buy a house. They're also trying to get custody of my daughters. My lawyer suspects their real plan is to force my daughters into becoming caretakers for the twins. That will never happen. CPS isn't likely to approve them anyway. On the personal side, there's good news. I'm starting therapy next week. My eldest is talking about college again. My daughters still refuse to visit their father's grave. I haven't gone either. I'm still adjusting to not calling him my husband. I had nothing to do with his funeral other than paying bills. His parents wrote devoted and beloved husband, father, and son on his tombstone. Honestly, it's a joke. I plan to change it when I can. I'll remove husband and father. Call it petty, but I refuse to honor a cheater and abuser. I don't think I'll post again until the lawsuit ends. But to everyone who's shown kindness, thank you. Final update for now, the twins have been placed with cousins from my ex-husband's side of the family. I know them. They're wonderful people. Let's call them Matt and Kim. I trust Matt and Kim will give the boys a good life. They even sat down with my daughters and told them, if they ever want a relationship with their half-brothers, all they have to do is call. Otherwise, they can just think of them as distant cousins. My girls thanked them, but said they don't want a sibling relationship right now. Maybe someday as cousins, it'll feel okay. I even offered Matt and Kim the money from the shared account since they're family, but they refused. Kim actually told me to use the money to take my girls on vacation, because in her words, I look like the living dead. They've also set firm boundaries with my in-laws and the affair partner's parents. Visits will only be supervised, and they made it clear. They won't be treated as grandparents. That caused a huge fight with the affair partner's parents, which ended with Matt and Kim cutting them off completely. They threw around more threats of grandparents' rights lawsuits, but nothing came of it. That's when I finally found out why her parents couldn't take custody of the twins in the first place. Her father is a convicted felon in an abuse case. I won't share the details out of respect, but if what Matt and Kim told me is true, I'm beyond grateful those boys won't grow up with him as a role model. The only reason his wife got temporary guardianship right after the accident was because of how sudden the deaths were. But once a permanent arrangement had to be made, she would have had to live away from her husband to qualify, and she wasn't willing to do that. Eventually, my ex-in-laws realized their threats weren't working, so now they've decided they want to play the role of great uncles. Fine by me, I guess. But here's the kicker. They're now asking if they can live with me and my daughters because they just left assisted living, and apparently the place they were in doesn't have any openings right now. That facility has a long wait list. The only reason they even got in the first time was because my ex and I prepaid for 5 years. They still had 2 full years left, and I was planning to cover it. But after everything they've put my daughters and me through, honestly, I'd rather burn that money on a grill than spend it on them. I can see right through their intentions. They want me and my girls to become their caretakers. That is never going to happen. My daughters have their own lives and dreams ahead, and I won't chain them down to take care of people who treated us so poorly. And as for me, honestly, I want to start thinking about meeting someone new. I know it might sound fast, but I've been moving on ever since I found out about the affair. I don't feel like my ex deserves for me to go through some long grieving period. I already mourned the marriage long before it ended. Even my eldest daughter told me, "Dad doesn't deserve your mourning." Funny enough, she's actually the one encouraging me to start dating. Now, about the legal mess. We're still in the middle of that custody lawsuit from my ex-in-laws, along with a few other issues. I'll update more when I have news. The important thing is, the boys are safe and staying together. This week, we had mediation for the grandparents' rights lawsuit. The point was to see if things could be resolved without wasting the court's time. I knew it would go nowhere. Their demands? Either full custody of my daughters or weekdays with them while I only get weekends. Even the court-appointed mediator told them their expectations weren't realistic. My lawyer and I made one offer and refused to budge. They can only see my daughters if my daughters want to see them, and only when they want to. That's it. The mediator actually thought we were being unfair until something came out. Turns out my ex-in-laws had told him my daughters were 6 and 4 years old. In reality, they're a whole decade older. I immediately showed the mediator their birth certificates and even a recent photo. He just shook his head and said there was nothing he could do. The girls are too old for grandparents' rights to even apply. He'll be recommending the lawsuit be dismissed. But the custody case will still go forward since we couldn't agree. And let me be clear, I will never, under any circumstances, give them legal control over my daughters. Now they're even demanding that I name them as my daughter's legal guardians in case I die. Yeah, never going to happen. On a strange note, I recently met the sister of my ex's affair partner. She showed up at my house with a box of items she'd found while cleaning her sister's place, things that had clearly been stolen from me. My wedding dress, an old jewelry box with a picture of my grandparents inside, some of my expensive coats and shoes, and most disturbing of all, copies of my personal documents, passport IDs, and more. She was kind and even apologized for her sister and her parents. I asked her why she didn't take in the twins, and she admitted she was tired of always being the family's backup plan. I didn't push further, it wasn't my place. She told me she knew the items were mine because her sister used to brag about my ex giving them to her, except for the documents. She had no idea why my documents were there and wanted nothing to do with identity theft. Some of the stuff she brought wasn't mine, so I gave it back. I only kept what was mine. I told my lawyer about the IDs issue right away. He helped me freeze my credit. I'll be getting new IDs and passports. We also filed a police report for possible identity theft just in case my information gets used illegally. Apparently you can make a police report about a dead person. I never knew that. It's just a precaution, nothing that would lead to a posthumous conviction. And on one last, slightly funny note, I'm planning to burn that wedding dress and make s'mores over the fire. Call it petty if you want, I don't care. I can't believe I'm even writing this, but now it's about my own mother. She's 71, and to say we have a difficult relationship is an understatement. She's always been an old-school traditional wife, never worked outside the home, had way too many kids, 7 girls, 6 boys, and clung to values most of my siblings couldn't stand. Most of them cut ties with her. 2 have sadly passed away. I'm the only one who stayed nearby to take care of her and my father. Since Dad passed, I've been covering her bills so she could live comfortably. But my mom has always been a headache, especially when it came to my marriage. She constantly babied my husband and took his side. I only wanted 1 child, but my husband wanted as many as possible, even though he originally agreed to just 1 when we got married. My mom actually helped him mess with my birth control, which is how I ended up pregnant with my youngest. I don't regret my daughter, but after she was born, I secretly got my tubes tied. My mom berated me endlessly for failing. Because I only had 2 kids, she also criticized me for marrying late. I was 2, she was 16. My husband, who was 49, when he died, had been having that affair since 2020 with a woman who was only 24, when she died in the same crash. Together they had twin boys earlier this year, who survived. My daughters actually knew about the affair before I did. Their father had taken them to the hospital to meet the babies and told them to keep it secret. They didn't, and when I found out, he became abusive toward all of us. We were already in the process of divorcing when he died, but when the affair came out, my mother blamed me. According to her, it was my fault. Because I was a working woman. Because I didn't please my husband. Because I didn't give him enough children. Because I wasn't pretty anymore. For the record, I think I look just fine for my age. I've kept myself in shape, but according to my mom, I wasn't enough. That's why, in her mind, he went after someone closer in age to our daughters than to him. She was also furious that I refused to adopt his affair partner's children, and now, her newest obsession, trying to find husbands for my daughters. She's mainly focused on my eldest, and this insane plan started just this week, right after my eldest came out to us. I already suspected, but I'm proud of her for feeling safe enough to tell me and her sister, especially in the middle of all this chaos. When she decided to come out to my mother, my mom's reaction was to just hang up the call. A little while later, she called me, not to talk calmly, but to scream about how confused and sick my daughter supposedly was. She sent me links to conversion camps, articles from so-called psychologists calling homosexuality a disease, political rants, and even suggested an exorcism. I told her point blank, if she didn't stop, she would have no contact at all with my in-laws. She stayed quiet for exactly 24 hours. Then, the very next day, I got a Facebook message from some man in his mid-20s asking if it was true I was trying to marry off my 16-year-old daughter. I told him he was disgusting, blocked him immediately, only for 6 more messages from different men to come in that same night. Turns out, my mother had actually bragged to me that she found husband prospects for my girls, my high school-age girls. I can't even describe how furious I was. Angry doesn't come close. And if that wasn't enough, she gave some of these men my daughter's cell phone numbers. So tomorrow, all of us are getting new numbers. I've already had the girls switch their social media to private. I honestly don't know what part of my mom's brain is broken to think this is okay. My daughters have now blocked their grandmother on everything. And as for me, I'm done. No more financial support for her bills or living expenses. She's cut off. I know I need to call the police. It's just something I never imagined I'd have to do against my own mother. And the timing. This comes just 2 weeks after I had to cut ties with my in-laws. I'm emotionally exhausted, and let me be clear, this is not some cultural Hispanic thing. It's just my mother being unhinged. My aunts are nothing like this. They're amazing women, many of them homemakers too. They fully support me cutting her off and going to the cops. They've even suggested the girls and I move closer to them in another state. Editor's note. I couldn't pin down the exact time frame between updates 8 and 9. It could have been a couple of months. We went to the police today, and they took every bit of information I had. The officer we met with was incredible. He immediately helped my lawyer start the process for a temporary restraining order. We'll be filing it this week, and hopefully we'll have it in place within a month. After that, we'll work on a permanent one. The restraining order will be against my mother and anyone else acting on her behalf. The officer even offered to check on us at our house once a day until things settle. The school has already been notified. On top of that, one of my brothers agreed to move in with me and the girls until we figure out if, when, and where we'll be moving. Right now, I can't just pack up and leave. I still have my job here, and the girls are in the middle of the school year. But at least we're safe for now, and both girls already have new phone numbers. Finally, some good news. As of November 2024, my mom will be on her own financially. No more support from me. There's now an official investigation into what she tried to do to my daughters. On top of that, another very old investigation into a separate family matter has been reopened. Since minors are involved, there's a chance we'll get an expedited restraining order. Fingers crossed, because that restraining order would also block a few others, mainly my in-laws, from contacting me. On a different note, after a lot of long conversations, the girls and I have decided we don't want to live in this house anymore. It's bittersweet because it's my childhood home, a gift from my dad. But the reality is the place is full of baggage. Everywhere I look, it feels like my husband's infidelity is haunting the walls. The girls also hate living so close to their grandparents. And my brother, who's staying with us right now, has been blunt. The stress isn't worth it. So I've made up my mind. I'll start repairs and either sell or rent the house. My brother has also offered to keep living with us after we move. Maybe not forever, but right now he's been an incredible support for my eldest daughter as she navigates coming out. I only know the basics about LGBTQ+ matters, but my brother, who came out almost 30 years ago, has been a fountain of advice and guidance. It's helped my daughter a lot, especially after the stunt my mom pulled. As for my youngest, she's doing much better. She's talking again, back to her old self, and she's not as scared to go out anymore. She's even excited about house hunting with me. She's already said she wants the perfect yard, so we'll see what we can find. Work has also offered me a transfer, possibly out of state. There's even an international option, though that's unlikely. Still, a fresh start sounds exactly like what we need, so that's where things stand. Not as much drama this time, more about setting up decisions for the future. As of November, I'm done. I officially refuse to acknowledge my mother. As far as I'm concerned, when my dad died, I lost both my parents. I'm 46 now. And my daughters, 17 and 15, still have a strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents, who are 78 and AF. My ex died in an accident last year, and ever since, we've been drowning in family drama. His cheating, his affair partner's death, the fact that they left behind 2 baby boys, all of it. My ex-in-laws have been relentless, trying to take custody of my daughters and even trying to move in with us. The custody battle is still in court. Living with me? That'll never happen. Where we live, there's a weekend market that sells fresh produce, eggs, meat, and other goods straight from farmers. This week was extra special because it was my youngest's birthday. Her party isn't until later in the month, so I gave her a budget and set her loose at the market to buy whatever she wanted. Of course, she mostly went for chocolate and sweets. After about an hour, I started to get worried. Just as I was about to call her, she called me first. She was crying, saying some strange women had cornered her. I ran over with my oldest daughter and found 6 older women surrounding my youngest, berating her. They were calling her unchristian for refusing to spend time with her paternal grandparents and for not wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers. For context, my daughters were the ones who discovered their father's cheating and the existence of the babies. They've been traumatized by all of it and they're in therapy. They don't want contact and that's their right. I immediately got between my daughter and the women. I told my eldest to pay for her sister's things and take her to the car. Then I turned to the women. Some I recognized from when we used to attend my ex-in-law's church, and I absolutely tore into them. They screamed back that I was even worse for refusing to obey my in-laws like a good Christian wife. It escalated so much that we were all asked to leave the market. The women even followed us like vultures all the way to the car, but I managed to get in and drive away. That night, after the girls went to bed, I reached out online to someone else from that same church who I still talk to. I told him what happened. He apologized for their behavior, and then told me what's been going on behind the scenes. Turns out my ex-mother-in-law went on a rampage and posted this massive sob story in her church's Facebook group. She painted me and my daughters as horrible people, claiming we were leaving her and her husband homeless and penniless. She wrote that my daughters inherited my ex's personal bank account and life insurance, then accused them of never speaking to her. She even blamed us for taking her grandsons away, since the boys now live with some distant relatives of my late ex-husband. The whole post read like a Hallmark movie tragedy. And of course, the more extreme church members poured love and support her way. Now, this church already annoys me, especially with how they treat LGBTQ+ topics. But they do have one saving grace. They are absolutely unforgiving about cheating. Doesn't matter if it's the husband or the wife. Infidelity is a huge no-no. So how did my ex-Mill get around explaining the existence of her son's affair children without exposing him as a cheater? Simple. She lied. She told everyone the other woman was our surrogate because I supposedly couldn't have more children. Then she claimed I rejected the babies because they were boys. Disgusting doesn't even begin to cover it. At that point, I decided enough was enough. It was time to clean this up. Since I was in the middle of divorcing my ex when he died, I still had every shred of evidence about his affair. And because the divorce wasn't finalized, there were no legal consequences for me if I released it. So on my next day off, I went to a print shop. I paid extra to have everything done on beautiful, high-quality paper. Photos of my ex and his mistress making out in our living room, screenshots of his texts with her, messages between him and his parents where they admitted knowing about and supporting his cheating, harassing texts from my in-laws demanding I stop the divorce, emails and messages where they bullied my daughters about their baby brothers in EO. One of those messages, sent just 2 days after my ex died, they actually called my daughters bastards and blamed them for their father's death. All because they told me about the affair and I filed for divorce. When I got home, I spent hours putting everything into neatly organized, personalized binders. I designed them to look exactly like the little hymn packets the church hands out for people who forget their own. The very first page, a big clear photo of my ex and his mistress kissing, their faces fully visible, no mistaking who they were. Underneath I wrote, ex's name and mistress's name, a love story. That Sunday I slipped the binders onto the desk at the back of the church where the hymn books are kept. No one checks them, so they went straight into circulation. The gossip mill exploded almost immediately. Within hours, people were tearing my ex and his affair partner apart online. The insults were so vicious that the pastor himself had to step in to keep things even remotely PG-13. The church members were also furious at my ex-in-laws for verbally abusing my daughters. What really made me laugh, though, was that I was still seen as being in the wrong for filing for divorce. But apparently, my failure was understandable because I'd been shocked and strayed from my duties. Some even said I might one day return to the light, unlike my cheating ex and his so-called Jezebel. They actually used a much nastier word, but I won't repeat it here. Then came the fallout. My daughters received 2 apology letters in the mail, along with an invitation for us to join the church for support. My ex-in-laws, on the other hand, were completely shamed and ended up leaving the congregation. Of course, my ex-Mill couldn't resist making yet another Facebook post. This time she whined about feeling alienated, how no one cares about the elderly anymore, and how she wished her great son was still alive because he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money, I have no idea, since I was the breadwinner the whole time. As for the will, my ex told me he named our daughters as beneficiaries. Turns out that was a lie. His parents were the ones listed instead. I never argued to be named a beneficiary myself, because my own will already leaves everything to my daughters. But I never expected him to betray his girls like that.